Hello and welcome to Reportage. This is Daanish with Nabi. In today's segment of Reportage, I am joined by senior politician and author Brinda Karat to talk about her new book, Hindutva and Violence Against Women, which is published by Speaking Tiger. This important short book sheds light on how basically the ecosystem of Hindutva legitimizes sexual violence against women. Let's listen in to the author. Ma'am, before we jump into the book and ask you about the book, let me first begin by simply asking you, do you think or do you believe that violence against women in last 10 years have increased or it has been stagnant?
Violence statistics that we get has only one source, which is the National Crime Research Bureau statistics, which are released every year, or supposed to be released every year. If you look at the last 10 years during the Modi rule, it shows us a 28% increase in crimes against women. And even as far as sexual assault is concerned, rape is concerned, there has been a significant increase in crimes against women. There's no doubt about it. And the conviction rate is as poor as it was before. So although there's an increase in crimes, the conviction rate is still abysmally low. And remember, these are crimes which are registered crimes. These are crimes which women go to a thana to register. But as the National Family Health Surveys also show us, when they have direct interviews with women, that many of them have faced sexual abuse or domestic abuse, and because of their circumstances, had no choice but not to register. So we don't know how many unregistered crimes there are, except that women have said 1/3 of them that they have faced crimes but not registered.
So the violence has increased.
No doubt about it.
Ma'am, now to the book. At the start of the book, you have coined a term known as Manuvadi majoritarianism. Now, a student like me, can you explain what this Manuvadi majoritarianism is?
See, what my point is, Daanish, if I may call you Daanish,
Absolutely
because
fine, ma'am.
crimes against women have increased, but we have seen the most barbaric crimes against women prior to the BJP rule also. I was, from my own experience, trying to understand what are the new dimensions of crimes against women during the Modi regime. And the major issue here is that crimes against women, as far as the recognition of crimes against women is concerned, as far as an environment to be created to fight against crimes against women is concerned, and as far as conviction, as far as government is concerned, on all these three aspects, there has been a great pushback under the Modi government to women's struggles for justice. Two aspects: ideologically, in the creation of an environment which I have called Manuvadi majoritarianism, and another aspect of what is new, which is communal majoritarianism. And both communal and Manuvadi majoritarianism have been born in the cradle of the RSS ideology, the Hindutva ideology. I don't call it Hindu, I call it Hindutva ideology, which is what the BJP and RSS are trying to impose across the country. To come to your point about Manuvadi majoritarianism, this is a majoritarianism which sees women in a very particular light, according to the Manusmriti, according to what is considered our tradition, quote unquote, tradition. And that tradition is a selective reading of tradition, which sees women primarily as a woman within the home, subordinate to her husband, subordinate to the caste system, and therefore subordinate as a citizen.
So, ma'am, you have also mentioned about Manu Smriti, how RSS Savakar especially had he was for this Manu Smriti book. What is this Manu Smriti? What is the text of this, and where does it place women in the society?
Manusmriti has very many different aspects to it. For the purpose of this book, I have shown the attitude and the writings of the Manusmriti as far as the caste system is concerned and as far as the subordinate position of women is concerned. Of course, the BJP and RSS also use that shlok in the Manusmriti, which says, gods reside where women are respected, which is also very much a part of what the Manusmriti says. But the basic thrust of the Manusmriti is one, it is a text which not only supports the caste system, but which decrees the punishment of a crime according to the caste of the person, and which decrees that Dalit communities, and particularly women of Dalit communities, are not equal citizens, but always, forever subordinate. And as far as women of even the upper castes are concerned, there are very specific stereotypical roles that such women have to play, which is there in the Manusmriti. And RSS ideologue V.D. Savarkar and others after have said that the Manusmriti is the most worshipable text for Hindus. And as late as 1950, after the Constitution of India was adopted, they were still saying the same thing.
Ma'am, to digress a bit from the book, is this why Baba Bhimrao Ambedkar, he had actually burned down this Manu Smriti book?
Of course, it was Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar who burnt the Manusmriti because he believed that the Manusmriti contained verses and clauses which are anathema to human rights, to dignity of human beings. And he burnt it. And if he was here today, I can tell you, under the Modi regime, he would be locked up in Tihar jail under the UAPA.
I absolutely get your point. Ma'am, time is bit very short for us, so I'm just running with my questions. Because I just want to cover all the questions I need to ask you. In the book, you have also written about that you are against the death penalty sentence. The examples you have quoted is between Bilkis Bano case and Nirbhaya case, where you say Nirbhaya came from an upper caste class, the perpetrators were from the lower caste, and in Bilkis Bano's case, she was a Muslim. Why are you against this death penalty? The theory basically you have wound around your argument. I want audience. Yeah.
So regardless of the government in power, I am against death penalty because I believe that the death penalty is something abhorrent to individual human rights. And I also strongly believe that the margin of error, as far as death penalty is concerned, across the world, we have seen in so many cases where you have been given the death penalty or you have given the death penalty and later found out that the person was not guilty. And in particular, why I'm opposed to it is because in a class-based oppressive society, such as we have in India, you will see that it is always the poor Adivasis and Dalits who more often than not are caught in the trap of violence and brutality who are given the death penalty. Here in India today, it has become even more crucial to remove the death penalty from the statute books because of this communal majoritarianism. And I'm extremely, if you look at just the examples, I'm not just talking there, I've given the example of Nirbhaya, and I've given the example of Bilkis Bano. And I've also said in the book that how is it that not in a single case of communal violence, where we have evidence that women have been raped, where we have evidence that they have been murdered, how is it that there is not a single case of death penalty in all these cases? So that is a communal bent of mind. And I fear and I apprehend that under a government which is so blatantly communal, the death penalty is going to be used as an instrument against minority communities.
Absolutely, ma'am. I completely understand your point. One of the intriguing and interesting points which I liked about in the book, you talk about demonizing Muslim men, not the women, but the men. What is this analogy you have drawn between, where you have also quoted that one of the tweets where that BJP man had alleged that most of the rapes were done by the Muslim men? Why they are demonizing the Muslim men?
Well, you see, one of the issues that we have seen again and again in a patriarchal society, to demonize a community, the political issue of isolating the minority communities according to the Hindutva ideology, to deprive them of equal citizenship, as they are doing by the CAA. What is the political environment to be created which makes ordinary women fear that, yes, this is perhaps true? So again and again and again, they are spinning the lie in their lie manufacturing communal factory run by the top leaders of the BJP and RSS, that all the rapes in India are by Muslim men, all terrorists in India are Muslim men, and all women who face violence face it because of Muslim men.
Now, and this is being done deliberately. And this is being done deliberately.
It is a plan. It is a political plan to demonize a community, and sexual violence by them in the sense Muslim men, is a very important plank of the Sangh Parivar, which is also reflected in laws like, for example, love jihad.
Ma'am, my last two questions before we wind up this short, quick interview. You have interestingly put another point across, which is about the Hindutva women leadership, where you have quoted Uma Bharti one and Sadhvi Ritambara the another one. What is this concept they have come up with, the Hindu women leadership?
No, I mentioned them in the context of the speeches they had made during the time of the Babri Masjid campaign before the demolition of the masjid, in which they used the most abusive, filthy abuse against Muslims as a community. That's a long time ago, but that tradition has been taken and promoted by other women leaders. My point is that there is a trend among women activists to believe in biological essentialism, which basically means that if I am a woman, my politics is bound to be sympathetic, nurturing, because I am built for reproduction. And so therefore there is this wrong understanding that biology matters more than ideology. My point is that the right-wing forces, not only in our country, but across the world, have in fact used the efforts of women's movements to promote women in public life, to bring women in public life, to turn this over to suit themselves and bring out the most rabid, toxic women as women leaders to promote their ideologies. And so, I have given all the examples there.
Absolutely. All the examples are in the book. Ma'am, my last question before we wind up this interview. Do you think present dispensation government's slogans, Nari Shakti on the one side and Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao on the other, do you think these two slogans resonate on ground, what basically is happening to women on ground?
I mean, that's their narration, but everybody knows, and I've shown in my book, that it is such utter pretension. I mean, you have Nari Shakti, and I have said, and I repeat here to you in this interview, Daanish, it's not Nari Shakti, it's the Shakti of sexual harassers. As long as the sexual harassers accept the Sangh Parivar as their guiding light, they will be protected. Like Brij Bhushan, not only was he protected, I mean, look at what they've done. Arvind Kejriwal's PA, he was arrested immediately. Whereas Brij Bhushan, for 1 year after the claims and after the court has upheld that charge sheet, that man is still not arrested. So, what is this Nari Shakti? You wear a saffron scarf and all your sins are forgiven. That's the reality today. And therefore, I say, beware, because we are losing what we have gained after years and decades of struggle.
Ma'am, the journalist inside me does not want to question you. The last question of this interview, and the journalist inside me wants me to ask you this question. You are on ground, and if I'm not wrong, you are in Jharkhand currently on ground working with the workers. Where do you think 2024 election are heading towards? Can we see a change in the government?
There's absolutely no doubt about it. I mean, there's a change in the people's mood. There's anger among people, regardless of the fact that the government has taken 8,500 crores through the political avenue of corruption of electoral bonds, which they're spending liberally here in a poor state like Jharkhand. They're going to lose out, not only in Jharkhand, they are losing out in India. That's my firm belief.
You firmly believe it, they will lose the elections?
I firmly believe that they are losing the elections. Their seats are coming down. There's no doubt about it.
Ma'am, on this answer rather, let's conclude, and let me hold your book once again for the audience. They buy this book and read and understand what this ecosystem, which you have talked about in the book, understand this ecosystem. Thank you very much for talking to me. Please subscribe to our channel Reportage and press the bell icon to remain updated.